The US issues another strong warning to Pakistan, saying it's hiding what it calls terrorist groups. Pakistan denies that and is angry. Relations between the two countries hit a new low. So where does it go from here? This is Inside Story. Hello and welcome to the program. I am Hashem Ahelbarra. Trump has put Pakistan on notice. That was the message from the US Vice President during a surprise visit to America's largest military base in Afghanistan. Mike Pence addressed 500 troops in Bagram 4 months after President Trump unveiled his strategy for Afghanistan. Pakistan has hit back, saying allies do not put each other on notice, urging that the focus instead be on creating peace and reconciliation. But relations between the two countries have deteriorated, with the US accusing Pakistan of providing safe havens for terrorist groups, a charge Pakistan strongly denies. We'll hear from Trump in a moment, but first, Mike Pence.
As the President has said, America's enemies must never know our plans. They must never believe they can wait us out. And we will never ignore the dangers you face, even when they emerge from beyond the borders of Afghanistan. You know, for too long, Pakistan has provided safe haven to the Taliban and many terrorist organizations. But those days are over.
We have made clear to Pakistan that while we desire continued partnership, we must see decisive action against terrorist groups operating on their territory. And we make massive payments every year to Pakistan. They have to help.
The relationship between the US and Pakistan goes back to 1947. When Pakistan was created, it chose to build an alliance with the US over the Soviet Union. Fast forward to 2001, and after the 9/11 attacks, Pakistan became one of the most strategic allies in the US's so-called war against terrorism. A $1 billion loan was wiped out and Pakistan was declared a non-NATO ally. In 2008, Pakistan admitted using money it was given by the US to fight groups, including the Taliban, to strengthen its defense against India instead. Then in 2011, relations soured again when the US killed Al-Qaeda's founder Osama bin Laden in a surprise raid in Pakistan without telling Islamabad. Since 2014, Pakistan has increasingly turned to Russia and China for military and economic deals. And now Donald Trump tells Pakistan to help the US defeat the Taliban in Afghanistan by denying the group safe havens. Let's bring in our panel. In Islamabad, Ayaz Wazir, the former Pakistan ambassador to Afghanistan, and in Kabul, Hamid Saboory, a lecturer in international affairs at Cardan University, and in Washington, Richard White, director of political and military analysis at the Hudson Institute. Gentlemen, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Let me start by asking Mr. Wazir this. Do you think that this is just an angry ally asking Pakistan to do more in Afghanistan, or this is a shifting pattern in US strategy towards Pakistan?
Well, it's unfortunate, but I would look at it as if they are shifting their failure into Pakistan. They are sitting in Afghanistan for so long, and they have still not defeated the Taliban. If we recall, they were having a presence along with NATO forces for more than 150,000 troops. But the Taliban were neither defeated, though they claimed, though by they I mean American, they claimed that Al-Qaeda is finished, destroyed, and Taliban have completely been removed and weakened. They would not be able to regroup or be a threat to us. But now we see again it is a threat to them again. So they have badly failed in Afghanistan. Let them accept that fact and try to find a peaceful solution. The Afghan problem cannot be resolved through coercive methods, whether it is within Afghanistan or putting pressure on Pakistan. So they have to revisit their policy on
They need to revisit their
and
policy, as you say.
seriously take interest in resolving.
Okay, let's go to Saboory in Kabul. Is it the case? Do you think this is a failure and then the need for the Americans and the Afghans on their own to review the whole strategy, not to lay the blame on the Pakistanis?
I don't think so. I think the reason there has been much success in the past 16 years, because in the past 16 years, Pakistan has been proactive in providing safe havens, training facilities, financial support, military support to the Taliban. Otherwise, if without that support, I assure you that the Taliban would have not even survived even days to continue their proxy war inside Afghanistan. I mean, look at all the facts that we have in the past 16 years when it comes to Pakistani support to the Taliban. All the leadership of the Taliban are inside Pakistan. They have been treated in their hospitals. Their wounds has been wounded soldiers has been taken been treated in the Pakistani hospitals. Their leadership, their families reside inside Pakistan. So I don't think so. It was really the failure. It's because Pakistan continued to support them in a way that they have did the Mujahideen back in the 70s and 80s. And they have those networks, and they have successfully managed to use this again when it comes to supporting Taliban in the past 16 years.
Okay, Mr. Weiss, do you think this is the ideal way to deal with an ally when you badly need them to put forward a plan for a new strategy for Afghanistan? Because ultimately there's absolutely no way you can win the war in Afghanistan without having the Pakistanis on board. Don't you think so?
I would put it this way. I would think that ending the support within Pakistan, and it's not clear to how to extent it's fully supported by the government or elements within the ISI or whatever. But anyway, ending the support within Pakistan for the Taliban or related groups is a necessary condition for bringing peace and or suppressing the insurgency, but it's not sufficient. There are still other requirements that would be needed, strengthening the Afghan security forces and taking other measures. So that's, and in that context, putting pressure on Pakistan to curtail assistance to those groups is not unknown. I mean, that's been a theme of U.S. foreign policy towards the Afghan conflict for the past dozen years or so. What's different about Trump is that he can more credibly threaten, I think, to cut off aid or take other radical actions just because some of his foreign policy actions by deliberate intent are unpredictable and go outside the mainstream of U.S. foreign policy. But there are some other things that have changed as well, which would I think, made it difficult to achieve this success.
Okay, Mr. Wazir, I mean, one of the accusations leveled against the Pakistani government throughout the last 16 years is basically Afghanistan is not able to rein in groups like the Haqqani network and the top leadership of the Taliban movement based in Pakistan. Is there any way to tackle this issue? I mean, what's the way forward for the Pakistani government?
Look, Pakistan has made it absolutely clear that there may have been something like what has been talked by my friends before. I'll not enter into personal confrontation with each other. Otherwise, I have so many things to say about safe haven across the border. But what Pakistan now have said is that there are no safe havens, and they have given an open challenge or open proposal to the Americans to choose a day and time. It should be of your choosing the day and time, and then let's go to the place that you suspect that there are safe havens. Visit it together. If they are, we will take action.
If I may
but we have taken action. There are.
If I might just add one thing. You know, Mr. Wazir, that the reason why Pakistan has been accused of providing safe havens to the Taliban is basically most of the daring attacks against the Afghan government, Afghan soldiers, or the American troops basically happened in areas on the border with Pakistan.
Look, if they are unable to guard themselves within Afghanistan, you can't blame Pakistan for that. Haqqani network is effective within Afghanistan. They have foot soldiers from within Afghanistan. The fighters, the foot soldiers, all are sitting in Afghanistan, fighting from within Afghanistan. If they are unable to defend, to control, to kill, or to remove them from there, what can Pakistan do? Pakistan has even gone to the extent to have a giant border patrolling, which is against the local system or the government systems. But to satisfy our brothers in Afghanistan and the international community, we have made that offer also. And now we are making an offer that if you suspect there are safe havens, come on, let's check it. I'm not denying that there would not be A or B or C. That doesn't mean that Taliban are given military support, financial support. They have now found other places from where they are supported. Pakistan certainly is not supporting them militarily.
We need to move forward. We don't want to be bogged down in this whole issue of the safe havens because we have loads of details to talk about. And let me go to Mr. Saboory. We've seen the accusations, counter-accusations throughout these years. The Pakistani government saying the Afghans are not doing anything to help themselves. The Afghans are saying the main reasons why we're failing is because of Pakistan. Isn't there any way to have the two countries engage and have genuine talks about solving all problems they face?
Well, absolutely. I think that there's room for to engage Pakistan, but I think this has to be a very sincere cooperation. I think it has to be very concrete steps by Pakistani sides to be taken. For instance, those groups that are operating from within Pakistan has to be either their leadership has to be detained, or they have to be sure that they don't have a safe haven inside Pakistan. I think Pakistan has to, I mean, their military and intelligence wing, I think this is something after 16 years, the international community is finally saying it clear and loud that they have not been saying.
But don't you think, Mr. Saboory, they have to also, same thing applies here, they need to address the genuine strategic security concerns by the Pakistani government. For example, when they say that the Indians are taking advantage of the situation, stepping in, playing massive military and political influence in the country. The Afghans are doing nothing about it.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's a legitimate concern, but we have to see some sincerity from the Pakistani side so that we are assured that Pakistanis are not really continuing that support to the groups that are putting pressure, that are having arms and fighting inside Afghanistan, destabilizing a country that's been going on for such a long time. And if it wasn't the case, I don't think so that the international community, particularly the United States, would come up and publicly, explicitly accuse Pakistan of that particular support to the Taliban and other terrorist groups. I understand the fact that this has to come to an end. There has to be room for negotiation. But the bottom line is that Pakistan has to be sincere in that effort, not just words that Afghanis are our brother, Afghans are our brother. We have heard that for the past 16 years, and it haven't really changed anything. Pakistan did not go beyond calling us brothers. I think that has to go a step ahead, which means that taking concrete actions.
Mr. White, Pakistani concerns about Indian growing influence in Afghanistan. Do you think this is one of the main reasons why the Pakistanis are very reticent when it comes to engaging with the Americans, with the international community, when it comes to the future of Afghanistan?
I would put it this way. I mean, I don't want to give the wrong impression. The Pakistani authorities and the U.S. officials have worked a lot on countering terrorism. There's a lot of cooperation. The Pakistanis, for example, let the U.S. fly drones over their territory. They could have shot them down. But the problem is there's some other complicating factors, and the one you just mentioned is probably the key. There are groups within Pakistan concerned about India and see support for paramilitary forces which we would consider to be terrorists here, as a means to compensate for their inferior position in a conventional battle, for example. And some of the blowback is if you encourage that kind of counterbalancing strategy against India, then that also can empower them to pursue their own agenda, such as in Afghanistan. So yes, we have to somehow deal with the India, Pakistan, Afghan triangle to really achieve an enduring result here.
Mr. Wazir, you've heard what Mr. White and Mr. Saboory have been saying about the need to move forward. I would like to ask you this question. I mean, from a Pakistani perspective, what do you think is the best way, since you've been addressing all those concerns, what is the best way for the Americans, the Afghan government, and the Pakistanis to negotiate a better outcome for Afghanistan?
I think we have to come out of the accusing each other of safe havens. We have done that enough for the last so many years. They are accusing us, we are accusing them. There are people in Afghanistan hitting us. Even today, our border security forces people have been killed, and they are accusing us. So this will go on. There will be no solution.
We don't want to be bogged down in that conversation for long. Yeah. Please go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. I think we should leave it. We should come out of it. We should stop it. We should look at the positivities if we can find. And the best way, in my assessment, would be that Kabul and Islamabad should give. I can't say give instruction, but somehow...
The reason why I'm asking you this is you are a diplomat, you served as an ambassador to Afghanistan, you know the core issues. Give us an idea or bullet points about the top issues that need to be addressed now.
That is what I'm trying to give you, because on both sides there is a lot of suspicion against each other. Trust deficit is so strong that until Kabul and Islamabad are brought a bit closer, other things would not move. Everything revolves around Kabul and Islamabad. So let's go to the quadrilateral contact group or the forums like where our three foreign ministers would be meeting in Beijing. Let these forums work hard, bring the two sides together, leave the accusation side apart. Then I'll give you one example. When President Ghani visited Pakistan way back, those days I heard on Voice of America a gentleman from Kabul admiring so good the relation between us, and he gave an example of our good relations, that Pakistan has named all the missiles named after the heroes in Afghanistan. So if we go into mentioning the positivity,
I got your point.
We can find something.
Okay, Mr. Saboory, this conflict has been going on for now 16 years. You remember the time of the surge of the US troops, more than 100,000 soldiers, backed by 50,000 from the NATO. We haven't seen significant change on the ground. The government now in Afghanistan controls less territory. The Taliban control many areas in the east, in the south, and in the north. Don't you think that also the government itself is to blame for the failures of the past?
I think absolutely. I mean, we do have problems internally, both political and military, and we are fighting within in our country. We're fighting the 20 different kind of terrorist groups that are operating inside Afghanistan, destabilizing the country, and also groups that are coming across the border. So yes, the government in the past 16 years had some failures, but that doesn't mean that the Afghan government did not open up to our Pakistani counterparts. And you mentioned about Ashraf Ghani. Ashraf Ghani visited 3 years ago and made it very clear to the Pakistanis that we are ready to cooperate. Even sidelined India for some time. And then after that, what happened was no clear action and commitment from the Pakistan. Now, it's not accusing, but again, in order to restore that confidence between the two countries, I think there has to be very firm steps has to be taken by, particularly by Pakistan, and then I assure you that the Afghan government will respond positively in return.
Let's
but
talk
if those,
about, because
those steps are not taken, I think that will be that will.
It's as you know, this is a multi-pronged political issue. It has different dimensions. I would like to dissect some of those dimensions for our international audience to further understand the issue. Mr. White, we're talking about President Trump talking about his new strategy. He says he's not going to be involved in nation building. He's just going to go after the terrorists. You know, as everyone knows, that with 16,000 soldiers, you won't be able to make any impact on the ground unless you have NATO commit more troops, and the Pakistanis commit also provide significant intelligence sharing with the Americans, and so on and so forth. Why would we think today that Trump will succeed in where Bush and Obama failed in Afghanistan?
Well, I'd probably go back then to the way I phrased the initial question about Pakistan. It's sort of a necessary but not sufficient condition. So certainly having a U.S. military role in Afghanistan, supporting the development of the Afghan national security forces, working to strengthen the capacity of the government to deliver local services, helping patrol the border, working with Pakistan to ensure supplies entering Afghanistan can pass through Pakistani territory and so on. That's a sufficient condition, but it's not necessary. It's on its own, it won't. I'm sorry, it's a necessary, but it's not a sufficient condition. On its own, it won't solve the conflict. The U.S., as we've said before, had 10 times as many troops, and it didn't. So it's clearly not going to be a military strategy. I think the ambassador made an interesting point, which is there are actually new fora for diplomatic negotiations, which is something that I'm not sure the U.S. has fully developed a policy towards them. But we know that, for example, China, Russia, and has been trying to work out a broader dialogue to bring in, initially it was just Iran and Pakistan, now they've got the Afghan government and the Indians involved. So this may provide another framework to try and work on some of the other issues we discussed, the need to strengthen cooperation between Afghanistan and Pakistan. And the U.S. role there wouldn't be very large, it would just be supporting. So there are other areas where I think the U.S. can play some role, but it also depends a lot on what the other actors do.
Now with the Russians expressing a desire to help with the political dialogue, Mr. Wazir, what kind of help would the Pakistanis bring about if finally everyone agreed that Taliban, the political leaders in Afghanistan, should come together and negotiate a political settlement? We know that the leverage you have in Afghanistan, particularly over the Pashtun ethnic group. So what kind of help would you provide to the Afghan people?
Well, I think the best way would be that the Taliban and the Afghan government should meet independent of the respective influences, whosoever have on them. If they meet independently, I'm sure they'll find a solution. But the problem is, who will do that? That is a billion-dollar question. So Pakistan is willing, that is, they have said it repeatedly, and I have no doubt that Pakistan will contribute again. But the Taliban, let me make it clear that Taliban today is not as much under Pakistan's influence as they were. They have found other people, other paymasters, other people looking after them. So it is not only for Pakistan to do that. Pakistan for itself as a government is willing to contribute, to come to any forum where it can contribute to find a solution to the problem. There are lots of changes within Pakistan, which I have no time to explain, but I have no doubt that the government in Pakistan is now sincere and wants a solution of the problem. We both have suffered enough. We must come out of the accusation, and in my own assessment, the problem would not be solved until Kabul and Islamabad, which I said before, come closer to it, despite the reservations that they are there. The two leaders must trust each other.
Thank you.
Ashraf Ghani and our Prime Minister must speak in confidence.
Okay, we're running out of time. It will be interesting to see how things develop later in the future in Afghanistan. Mr. Ayaz Wazir, Mr. Hamid Saboory, and Mr. Richard White, thank you very much indeed for your time. And thank you too for watching. You can see the program again anytime by visiting our website, aljazeera.com. And for further discussion, go to our Facebook page. That's facebook.com/AJ Inside Story. You can also join the conversation on Twitter. Our handle is @AJ Inside Story. From me, Hashem Ahelbarra, and the whole team here. Bye for now.